17% of the world growth comes from, incremental growth comes from India. And these impressive numbers also provide a strong basis for the Honorable Finance Minister's budget, which is likely to be presented on 1st February 2026. There is some kind of an asymmetry, but agriculture has, and especially the volatility in monsoon, has a limited impact. India is expected to grow by 7.4% in FY26. These are very impressive numbers. If you place things in a proper historical and comparative perspective, we find that the global economy is growing something by 2.2%. Advanced economy is growing by about 0.5% or thereabouts. And even in the emerging markets group, India has become something like an outperformer, an outlier. And Ms. Geeta Gopinath, who was IMF's first deputy MD, she had done some work in this area and demonstrated that 17% of the world growth comes from, incremental growth comes from India. So these are very impressive numbers and shows that this kind of a growth, we are consistently growing in a band of something like 6.5 to 7.5%. So this places India in a very strong position in terms of nominal GDP. India is likely to achieve 8% growth, and these impressive numbers also provide a strong basis for the Honorable Finance Minister's budget, which is likely to be presented on 1st February 2026. This growth, to our mind, rests on 5 strong pillars of sustained public capital expenditure comprising infrastructure, transport, energy, resilient domestic consumption, especially urban demand, which has received an impetus from significant relief given in the direct taxes, also indirect taxes. Recently, GST rates were slashed, the number of slabs were reduced, so all that gave a significant boost to domestic consumption. Services sector continues to do well, particularly IT, finance, and tourism. There's also a strong macroeconomic stability, controlled inflation, and manageable fiscal deficit. These drivers are real, but their strength and spontaneity need to be constantly monitored to strengthen India's position in the Committee of Nations.
So, in order to achieve the growth numbers, what are the biggest or domestic financial conditions?
Well, there's a little bit of everything. First, since I will let me take the last first. So you mentioned about monsoon risks in agriculture. They are not so significant. Historically, it was maintained that Indian agriculture is something like a gamble in monsoon. But then, with India adopting modern techniques, technology, we are using a lot of AI tools, value-added products, drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation. So the impact of monsoon has also come down. This can also be substantiated by the fact that unlike 1950, when agriculture accounted for something like 50% of India's GDP, now agriculture's contribution to GDP is around 16-17%, though about 45% of the people are still engaged in agriculture. So there is some kind of an asymmetry, but agriculture has, and especially the volatility in monsoon, has a limited impact. At the global level, there are constraints of global economic uncertainty. These have heightened in the wake of Russia-Ukraine crisis, uncertain situation in the Middle East, US President Donald Trump's tariffs measures, and now most recently, the US direct onslaught on Venezuela. All these make the international situation very uncertain. There are also issues of private investment, which still continues to be cautious, and agriculture vulnerability, inflation, and monetary policy risks. So all these will need to be carefully monitored so that we emerge stronger in the days and years ahead.
So, how should monetary rate cuts by the RBI also?
Well, if you see the things in this year, I think the RBI governor, Mr. Sanjay Malhotra, has already reduced the rates, repo rates, very significantly. I think in the year just gone by, the rates reduction was something like 125 basis points, which is quite significant. But given the kind of inflation numbers which have come in, they are very much on the lower side. So sometimes it's held that maybe there is some kind of a space for rate cut, but then my personal perception is that we should hold our horses, we should monitor the situation, and the RBI governor has also consistently gone on record to say that the RBI's policies would be data driven and evidence based. So, possibly closer to the policy, the kind of data which comes, that will have a bearing. And in the ultimate analysis, monetary and fiscal policy must move in tandem. There could be some pressure on the finance minister to manage her budget because fiscal deficit post the COVID 19 pandemic has consistently been coming down, but there have been significant relief given in both direct and indirect taxes. Infrastructure spending continues to be very significant. Last year budget, it was something like 11 lakh crore, which constituted 3.1% of GDP. So there are expectations that these are likely to be maintained or even stepped up. Defense is also an important sector which will need significant resources. So given the kind of these things, she will have to do some kind of a tightrope walking, meeting the needs of the economy without causing the fiscal deficit to rise sharply. So monetary and fiscal policy, they will have to move in a synchronized manner in tandem.